Hello, and welcome to the Intelligentleman Podcast. I am your host, Mel Walker, the Intelligentleman. Welcome, thank you for all your support and all of the love that I've been getting from the community. I really appreciate it. This episode, we're going to be talking about some little known facts in Black history. Because as we know, Black history is not just 1 month. It's 365 days. It spans the entirety of human existence. And so we definitely want to make sure that we highlight some of the things that are not celebrated that often. And for this particular podcast, I'm going to be putting a pretty sharp focus on the ladies, the women, the queens, the ones who carry the struggle throughout the entirety of it. And what's really interesting about some of this is that you would think, you hear about some of the more famous women who, Black, who are in Black history, like your Ma Rainey's and so on and so forth. But there are so much more to our history and to our women. I just want to talk a little bit about my experience, right? Just growing up, when I think back into my life, I can truly say that there has always been a strong Black woman supporting me in my life, my entire life. There's never been a time where there hasn't been one supporting me, and I am so grateful. I'm so grateful. It's amazing that that they don't get the credit that they deserve. They don't get the respect that they deserve, and us as men, as Black men, we don't put them on the pedestal that we should. And I know everybody has their own thoughts about how to do that, whether it's, making them a housewife or, providing for them to become whoever they want to become. But, everybody has their own, but this is not a time for division. This is a time for connection, right? So we're not going to talk about that. For me, I believe that everyone has the freedom to choose who they want to be, when they want to be it. You are not confined to anyone's predetermined role for you, right? Because we all have roles to play. But the women have played such a pivotal role in civilization, in life, since its inception, since life was through them, right? So let's give a shout out to them for that, and let's talk a little bit about some of these little known women who actually paved the way for some of the more well-known women in history, right? First, and I'm reading from the book More Dirty Little Secrets About Black History, Its Heroes, and Other Troublemakers, Volume 2 by Dr. Clyde Anderson and Brant Anderson. So this is where this is coming from. If you want, you should get one of these books. Not if you want, you should get one of these books, and you can find all of the reference material as to where the brother got it, because he did a lot of research, a lot of studying to put this into this book. So please go out and buy it, check it out, and I'm telling you, you're going to be enlightened, because I was, I was reading through it, and I noticed, and it's reference material, right? So it's not like, but as you read through each account about different things, and some of them are not good, some of them are good, most of them are good, but when you read through it and you're like, wow, I didn't even really know that had anything to do with us, or whatever the case may be. But I'm just gonna read some of this because I think these are things that some people should know, right? The chapter is Sex and Sexual Taboos, and the reason why he named it that was because people have, and not sex as in the sex, but in sex as in male female sex, right? So We're talking about that, taboos. Like, people think that, men might have did some of these things, but actually it was some females, it was some women, right? It was the black women. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some black women inventors, and I'm gonna read directly from the book because I want this to be clear, and I think the brothers did a great job as making it as clear as possible. Despite the barriers of racism and gender, black women invented and patented numerous useful commercial products. It is a twist of fate that any documentation exists at all, because for centuries, few public or private records indicated the race and or gender of the inventors. Key point. However, even incomplete government records show some of the accomplishments of black women inventors. Sarah E. Gould was one of the first black women inventors to receive a patent. She invented the folding cabinet bed in 1885. How about that? Ellen F. Eglin invented the clothes wringer in 1890. In 1888, Marion E. Benjamin invented the gong signal system that the United States House of Representatives adopted to summon pages. Who would have knew that? Who would have known that? That something used in our U.S. Capitol, the United States House of Representatives, they adapted this. They adapted her technology, what she created, and they used it for them, right? It's amazing. And again, this is just a few. This is not even like an extensive list. So I encourage everybody to go out there and do your research and find out about some of these people yourself and push it out there. Because the world needs to know. Our little girls need to know growing up that they can do more than what they see out there on the TV. All of our children need to know this. Okay? We need to start elevating all of our children, but I'm in the mind that you start elevating the people through how you treat their women. So when you start treating the women better, then you can elevate the people, right? Why is that? It's because the women are the first teachers of the children. They're the first teachers. So when that happens, you have to treat them well so that when they teach the children, they teach the children well. I mean, it's just that simple. And thank you, Brandy. We black every day. That's right. We black every day. Thank you, Brandy, for joining in and watching. Ebony, always a pleasure to have you on there. Such a blessing. Ebony says, absolutely. I'm in agreement. We gotta hold our queens up. Sarah Boone, Claytonia Dorticus, Alice Parker, Arcacia Ross, Jane Wright were other black women who held government-approved patents. Some of their inventions included, and I'm gonna start naming out some: photographic print wash. The photographic print wash. If you ever seen like those black rooms when people do photography, the photographic print wash, when they wash the print, when they put the photograph into it looks like water, but it's not water. It's a solution that helps the photograph to I forgot what the term is, but it helps the photograph to come onto the film, right? The house leak stop, the ironing board, the ironing board. Put a black woman into a hard situation and see what she come up with a solution for it. She made the ironing board. Suspenders. She had to keep coming up there and fixing her king up. Hey, you pull up your pants. Your pants falling down. So she just invented the suspenders, the trouser support. There's so much insight into that, right? the Queens always been taking care of us. They always have been coming up with ideas and inspiration, being muses for our culture since the beginning of time. So we gotta get a credit where the credit is due. We gotta honor them. I'm telling you. The amount of money and recognition these black women receive for their various patents and inventions are unknown. Now that's the sad part. We don't know how much money they got, but hopefully they got well compensated. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about some more here in just a second. But let's just look at this for a minute. So when we're talking about Black history and we're looking back onto so many different avenues that we had to go to get through what we were going through, right? In any case, that these black women rose to the occasion and they went out there and solved whatever problem that they were faced with. Now that's inspirational, and it's not because they're women. It's because they surmounted the odds that were against them, because the system was not set up to allow them to do a lot of things. So they were able to rise above that and still contribute to society. That's powerful. It should be equal. It should be equalized, right? It should be no problem, right? Ebony says black women are resourceful and creative. We always find a way. That's right. Always. It's so amazing. Again, I use my own experience. I think back into all the times where, like, when I was a child, you know, my dad's at work, you know, my grandmother's taking care of us while we're there, you know, and, you know, I'm sitting there and, you know, we might have some kind of problem, but she always had like a solution. So whatever it might be, you know, we sitting there, you know, like, oh, man, you can't figure this out. He's like, boy, just go over there and do this. Like, oh, okay, all right, and we'll do that, right? I mean, even it seems simple. It seems very simple, but it's the spirit. It's the spirit behind it, right? They've always been taking care of us. They always have been there, supporting us, supporting whatever we doing, always being there for us. So we got to be there for them. And I'm talking to the kings right now. I'm talking to y'all. We got to be there for them. We got to stop. You got to stop with all the extra. You got to stop all that. We have to be there for them, period. And you don't need nothing back from it. You don't need nothing for them. We just need to be there for them, okay? That's all we need to do. And then let's elevate, because as we do that together, we can elevate. And another one of the themes I told you for this month that I was going to be on was Akuma, right? The concept of love. And we'll talk about that on a later podcast, but you know, I just want to say, like, this is all tied into that, though. You know, this is black love. This is how we love each other. You know, we know our struggles. We know what we're going through. So why not have that empathy, right, for each other, and use that to build each other. That's really what a glow up, as they say, or where you know, where the bag is. You know, building each other. That's where it's at. You see the picture in the background, Black Wall Street. You know what it is. We're talking about Black Wall Street, and we're talking about we all have to do it together. It's not a me thing, a I thing, a I did this, you do that. It's we. How can we do this? That's the mindset we have to start living in and breathing in. That's right, Brandy. Big bag. That's right. We're talking about some big bags, because there's opportunities, right? There's opportunities, and I'm reading to you right now the inspiration right now. I mean, it's so amazing. Like the ironing board. Like, who would have known that? Nobody would have known that. You see what I'm saying? Like, we have to start looking back at our past so that we can understand where we need to be going in the future. My boy James Wright, what's going on, King? Peace and love to you, brother. You know, we got to make sure that we're lining this up right. We got to line it up right, because we if we're not there for each other, then who's gonna be there for us? How did we get through some of the worst times in our history on this planet? How did we get through? Together. That's how. Queen Tubman, pulling people, right? I mean, you gotta use these lessons. You gotta use these lessons, and we gotta understand. We gotta start trying to understand each other. You know what I mean? I'm gonna talk about what my brother said one time on one of his posts, James. You know, when he was talking about, you know, being in the street, you know, makes you kind of, and I brought this up in a past podcast as well. You know, it makes you not trust people. You know, so you have to kind of get out of that, right? But we have been ingrained to not trust each other through the system that we navigate in, right? So we have to break that too. We got to break that too. Even if you're not in that type of situation, it's just out there, you know, from the way the welfare system is set up, right? So what I'm trying to say is we have to create our own systems so that we can be able to provide for each other. Once we can do that, then we can really truly elevate, because can't nothing keep us. Can't nobody tell us, nah, you can't go there. All right. I gave you some facts about Black Wall Street, which you see behind me right now, on one of my previous podcast before last, right? It was in the most segregated part of the United States is where this happened. In the most segregated. So where the most hatred towards us is where we came together the strongest. Understand that. We can use that. We can use what we're going through to help build ourselves, because it should make us come closer together. It shouldn't drive us apart. It shouldn't be all men for themselves and everybody running and going trying to find, you know, whatever they trying to find. Nah, let's come together. Let's see what we can do together. As a friend of mine always says, you know, and it's an African proverb, you know, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go together, right? That's the mentality. We got to have that mentality. We want to go far. We want to have, like Brandy in her episode when she was on my podcast. If you want to build generational wealth, then you have to think about the long game. It ain't about the short game. It's about the long game. So you gotta be visionary with your moves. It's chess. It's not checkers. So you gotta be visionary, right? Brandy says there's so many things we have to unlearn and do. That's right. That's right. That's right. So you have to be open. So you got to be open. First, you got to understand that you already been programmed. So if you've been programmed, then you got to know that some of your responses are not going to be the way that they should be. So you really have to do that introspection. For me, it's meditation, right? Meditation, mindfulness. When I'm being mindful of my influence, of what's influencing me. What is telling me, what is it that I'm using as a signal to guide my step? Is it my inner me? Is it me? Or is it some other influence? And that's where the critical part is, right? That's where the critical part is. And that's what you have to think about. Emily says, yes, programming and reprogramming is imperative. That's right. Yep, right. She put the chess pieces up there. That's right. It's chess. It's not checkers. So you can't just be jumping all over the board. Like, just think that's gonna get you where you're trying to go. That's not how that works. It don't work like that. You gotta strategize. You gotta strategize. Think about your move. Get together with your kings and your queens. Let's get a round table. Let's get a round table, right? And everybody in this chat, I'm gonna be talking to y'all a little bit after this about some stuff that's going on. But you know, let's get a round table together. Let's have community meetings. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about and strategize and make plans as to how we can utilize the resources that we have to build. That's what we got to do. One person might have a building. The other person might have some cash. The other person might have some resources, right? Well, let's put it all together. Let's put it all together. Ain't nobody got to be one above the other. Ain't nobody above the other. I like the meme that floats around, and I'm gonna get back to these facts here because I got some good ones for you. But I like this meme that's floating around that says, if ain't nobody a boss if everybody around the table is a boss, right? So if you all bosses, then ain't nobody bossing nobody. You know what I'm saying? But you got to have that spirit. You got to have that right-mindedness. You got to be able to come to the table, sit back, listen, and be able to sometimes take somebody else's idea over your own and say, well, you know what? I think that's let's try that idea. If that doesn't work, I got another idea. I got a plan B for that plan A. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter who go first. It don't matter who makes it successful, because we all gonna be successful. That's the point. We're all gonna be successful if that's why we in this, So it doesn't matter which plan we go with. It really doesn't matter. It's all about what we need to do, right? All right, so I'm gonna talk about somebody that's very famous, but I'm gonna talk about a role that she is not known for. And when I say the name, everybody gonna be like, oh yeah, I know who that is. I know what she did. But you don't know this though. So I wanna bring this to people's attention because, our women are powerful warriors too now. They ain't nothing to play with. They ain't nothing to play with. I'm telling you, man. Now listen to this, right? The name of this is an off-Broadway spy. Now just that name. Like what? Josephine Baker was a popular black entertainer who became a spy and hero for the Allies during World War II. Josephine Baker was born in June 1906 in St. Louis, Missouri. By the time she was 16, Josephine was a popular entertainer recognized for her dancing and singing talents. Black musicians Noble Sissle and Eubie Blake were so impressed with her talent that they introduced her to the national American audience when they featured her in their all-black musical Shuffle Along. The show opened on Broadway in 1921. Okay, so that's some of the things that she was in and that she's readily known for, right? Okay, now let's get to the stuff that she wasn't really known for, right? The white entertainment industry responded as it has throughout history. It quickly began emulating black entertainers while using political and economic power to force them out of Broadway musicals. Now we know about that too, right? Pay attention. Rather than fighting racism within the American entertainment industry, Josephine Baker formed her own troupe, as so many black entertainers did, then moved to Europe, where she felt they would be respected and appreciated. Miss Baker guessed right. Europeans were dazzled by the black musicians, singers, and dancers. Josephine Baker became the hit of the European continent for the next 20 years. When the Germans invaded France in the 1940s, they too were so attracted to Josephine Baker and her black troupe that they allowed her shows to continue under Germany's military occupation. The highest ranking officers in the German army regularly attended her shows and socialized with her. They never realized that Josephine Baker was gathering secret information from them and conveying it to America and the European Allied forces through the French underground. Who would have thunk it, huh? After World War II, Josephine Baker was inducted into the French Legion of Honor for her work as a spy. She died on April 15, 1975 from a cerebral hemorrhage in Paris, France. Baker risked her life for America, as well as for France. However, only France honored and expressed its love for her. So what are we saying? What are we really saying right now? We have to honor our queens. We have to do this. As black men, we should be doing this. If nobody else does that, we should be doing that. And it's situations like this that just kind of awakens the need for the black man and the black woman to come together, right? We really have to start looking at this thing from a different angle. We really do. We really do. We got to look at this from a different angle. No longer, I like the way Nas said it in one of his songs, the black woman is not just for sex. She's not just for, pleasure. She's not just for, home rearing, kid rearing and all. Look, the mother plays her part. The queen plays her part too, right? So we have to recognize both in the black woman. We have to understand that they're not just, one-dimensional. They're multi-dimensional just like we are. So we have to make sure that we're painting that same picture. When we talk about our black queens, that's how we need to be talking. We don't need to be talking down to them. Now, we know that everybody's not going to be, saying the same message, and that's okay. That's okay. But we ain't going to let nobody else disrespect them, though. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's not on the table. We can talk to our queens. And I like the way KRS-One put it in one of his talks that he was talking. When a queen, when a black woman, when a black female is around queens like they were back in the real hip hop days, right? Like MC Lights and the Queen Latifahs. What happened? They became queens too. They see that, they like, that's power. They know, they can see it. They can see it within themselves. They see the divinity. They know. They're like, oh, this is my true power. It's not sex. It's not being a sexual object for somebody. It's this. It's this. It's this. Right? Point in case. I want to bring this up. So, Honey Renee Gunn says, that's dope. Josephine Baker icon, right? Who would have known that? Nobody would have known that. That's right, Ebony. Clap for him. Clap for him, please. We gotta all clap for him. Since we're so into challenges, respect black women challenge. That's right. There we go. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all share that out there too. Share it out there. And post the name of a black woman that you respect when you put it out there too. It could be your mom, it could be your sister, it can be your family, it can be others, anybody. But put it out there. Let's make that go viral. Let's do that. Okay? All right. Africa's Amazon women. What is this about? I'm about to tell you what it's about. See, everybody that knows me knows I'm like a superhero geek, right? I like Marvel movies and all that kind of stuff. I like that type of stuff, right? And me and my daughter, we watch stuff like that. It's very inspiring. So the fictional Amazon woman called Wonder Woman was immortalized in post-World War II comic books and a 1970s television series. The story goes that Wonder Woman and her sister Amazons were attractive, skilled warriors from a fictional island who devoted their lives to fighting crime and corruption around the world. These female warriors were stronger than the average man. While most admirers accepted Wonder Woman and the Amazons as nothing more than fictional characters, there is evidence that Amazon women really existed over a century ago. In 1892, French legionnaires fought with and learned to respect what Europeans called African Amazons. Interesting. These Amazon were tall, strong, black women. They were professional fighters and soldiers from the kingdom of Dahomey, which is now known as the Republic of Benin. That's the one that you're probably familiar with. In West Africa. there are enough similarities between the African women of Dahomey and the comic book Amazon women to conclude that the original Wonder Woman comic book character was probably inspired by real black African women. Look at that. Look at that. You see that? It's amazing to me, you know, how we don't really get a lot of this information, you know, and it's sad because it gets lost in the translation a lot of times, right? Because some key factors might be left out, and you know, you won't really get the full story. But you know, when you do the research and you go back and you look at some of these things and you find out like, wow, okay. Which I mean, come on. If you look at it, if you think about it, especially me, because you know I'm familiar with the comics. So when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, it gotta be a black woman, because no other archetype in the world fits that structure. Period. There is none. I mean, that's just being real. I mean, I'm not, you know, has nothing to do with anything else other than just facts, right? So, I mean, it makes sense to me, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's one of those things where you wouldn't even really know about it unless you actually had, you know, that type of knowledge or went and looked it up and stuff like that, right? So those are some of the things that, you know, that I wanted to kind of just bring to people's attention, just to say that, you know, we really need to focus on holding our black queens up. We really need to focus on that because it's imperative. They have so much to provide, and it's not just from that perspective. Like, it's not just about what they can give us, right? It's what are we doing for them? What are we doing for them, right? That's what we really need to be asking the question about. What are we doing for them? Because they doing a whole bunch by themselves. Got a black woman that owns her own bank, right? I mean, you know, we talk about black-owned banks and black-owned banks. Yeah, but it's a woman that owns a black-owned bank. People don't even know about that. I encourage you to go and research that too, right? I mean, it's so much that we really do not give our black women credit for. You know, we really have to make sure that when we're talking about black history, we're not just talking about, you know, the Malcolm X's, the Martin Luther King Jr.'s, you know, not just talking about the Booker T. Washingtons, not just talking about the, you know, it's good. Our kings, they did their thing. They did their thing. But let's make sure we celebrate our queens just as much, if not more. If not more. Because I will debate with someone that the only reason why the black man was able to survive as long as he has was through the support of the black woman. And sometimes the lead. Because our black women lead too. They don't just support. They're not just in the background. Some women out there leading. They out there leading the charge. And I love to see them all coming together. That's a beautiful thing. So you'll always find me celebrating that and celebrating them. Wherever I go, whatever I do. Like I said, my personal experiences in this has been one of, I've always had a black woman support. I talk about, you know, Miss Ear, the one who turned me on to entrepreneurship and actually forced me to start charging people for a service, you know, that I provided people, because I like to do it. That was a black woman. It was a black woman. My grandmother, that was always there throughout everything in my life, was a black woman. So let's make that let's make that normal. Let's make that normal. All right. Now I'm gonna talk about another. A female Tuskegee pilot, Miss Mildred Carter, was among the first women to earn a pilot's license from Tuskegee Institute Civilian Air Training School, which became legendary with the success of its airmen in World War II. Female pilots of any race were prohibited from flying in combat. However, after she received her license in 1941, Carter felt she could find a flying career in civilian aviation. But it was not to be. Her flying career ended before it began. She received a letter from the Women's Air Force Service pilots that stated she was ineligible to fly because of her race. Because of her race. Carter continued to fly and rack up flying hours in her private time at her own expense. See, look at that. That didn't stop her, though. You know what I mean? That's the resilience of the black woman. In 1943, the Women's Auxiliary Ferrying Squadron and the Army Air Force Women's Flying Training Detachment were formed. These women pilots ferried planes from the factories to their point of embarkation. Mrs. Carter again applied to join these female flying groups. Her dream of flying for her country again was shot down by the head of the program. According to some historians, at least 2 Asian and several Hispanic women were accepted into the flying program. Apparently, black female pilots were on the lowest rung of the preference ladder. They were just below black male pilots. The program was already tenuous because female pilots were not socially accepted. See, this is the key about this, right? Not only was, being a black woman hard, but just being a woman was hard, right? So you got all these layers on top that these women had to overcome and to fight through just to do what they wanted to do, just to do what they loved to do, just to contribute in the way that they wanted to contribute. Wow. So what does that mean? That means as kings, as men, we need to start helping, which a lot of them been broken and we still working on them. But we need to be spearheading that part in the places where it's too hard, and I won't say too hard, but where it's difficult, it's challenging for them to get into. We need to, how a gentleman opens the door, holds the door open for the lady. We need to do that. We get in, we hold the door open. Here you go. All right, here you go. No, you ain't got nothing to say about that. Let it go in. That's how we need to be, as black men too. We need to have that thought in our minds. You know what I'm saying? We need to be thinking about that. The program administrators hinted that the addition of female pilots who were black would drive a nail in the coffin of the flying program. The sky was the limit, except for a female black pilot. So, again, our black women have, throughout history, overcome and contributed to our society and its crazy rules, right? Because as we all know, a lot of times back, in a lot of places back in our history and our culture, at the beginning of civilization, our women were always held up in high esteem. We always did that. That's not something new. We're getting back to doing it, but that's not something new. The concept of men being the head has always been a westernized idea, even though it's not really westernized. It's always been an idea, but it's not been something that we have participated in, right? From the beginning of the time, we always held our women up to the highest esteem. So we need to get back to that. Let's get back to that, because that's really, what it is. That's really 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 that's really where our success will lie. I believe that our success hinges on our ability to come together. Kayla Hall is joining us. Thanks, Kayla, for joining in. Honey Renee Gunn says, your love and support for the Black woman is divine, King. Thank you. Thank you, Queen. I appreciate that. I always appreciate everything that you do. I really do. And any way that I can try to help, I'm going to try to help. And that includes using my platform for exactly that. And again, everybody who's in this chat, everybody that is interested, we're going to be talking about some things that we're doing. And I want to get together and I want to have a meeting that what we're doing to help facilitate these things, to help bring together our community into the next Black Wall Street, right? Hey, I'm in here. Thanks to Brandon. I always love to support and have value added to my life. Thank you, Kayla. You definitely add value to others as we add value to yours. Thank you so much for all your contributions and your love and light. We appreciate you too for joining the Intelligentleman podcast family. And so when we're talking about these things, these are Black history moments that people don't know about, right? But are so pivotal. It's so pivotal. If Josephine Baker hadn't gotten the information that she gotten from the Germans and given it to France and the United States, they might not have even won. That's how pivotal we're talking about. We're talking about course of civilization changing. That's the level of our queens. This is what they do, and they do it well and with grace. And we appreciate you. And definitely we're gonna be checking out Miss Honey Renee Gunn's Self-Love Saturday camp later this month. Kings and Queens edition, where we're gonna come together on there. Right? And if you want to sign up, please get with her. She's in the chat. Honey Renee Gunn on Facebook. Reach out to her so that you can sign up. Also, you can go to her website, which is singtoinspireyou.com. Singtoinspireyou.com. Spelled just like it sounds. And please go and sign up and support. Right? Check it out. I think you're really gonna like it. I think it'll be something valuable for you. That's what we're doing around here. We just gonna shout out everybody. We're gonna shout out everybody and everything that we're doing. Why? You see it? Because that's what we're doing. We building. That's what we're doing. We ain't tearing nothing down. We building it all up. Okay? So let's I want to talk about one more. And this one is going to really kind of shake things up a little bit, right? The first two Black Miss Americas. For centuries, white women have been the American standard of beauty. In 1981, which is my birthday, I was born in 1981. However, the nation was shocked when two Black women were crowned Miss America. For the first time in 62-year history of Miss America beauty pageant, Vanessa Williams, previously Miss New York State, became the first Black woman to be crowned Miss America. In the very same Atlantic City pageant, the first runner-up to Vanessa Williams was Suzette Charles, Miss New Jersey, who became the first Black woman to win that state title. This double win for the Black female set a historic precedent, though Miss Williams was later forced to give up her crown following revelations that she... So what happens at that point, right? They always try to find a way to discredit you, to bring you down, right? So it's very critical that us as men, we protect our women. You know, with that particular story, you know, they found out that she had posed for some magazines, and so they went and took the crown. But again, it's always going to be something. We're always going to be up against something. So we always have to stand together. Okay? So, and I make that point because there's a lot of things circulating when it comes to your Cardi B's and your Megan Thee Stallions and all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to this, and yes, there is a point that we should hold, you know, people to a higher standard, right? We should hold ourselves to a higher standard. This is true. But don't forget that people use these things against you to bring you down. So don't be a part of that process. Don't be a part of the process that brings somebody down. Again, in historically, if you want to raise the consciousness of a person, of someone, you put them around people who have a raised consciousness. As a community, we have to collectively raise our consciousness in order for us to get past some of these things that we find ourselves in, because that's where we have been told that we will only be successful. And I say that because me being in the IT field, a lot of times our young girls and boys, they don't feel worthy of getting into the IT field. They feel like they're not smart enough, that they don't have the resources, that they don't have the support to do something like that, right? So it's our job to make sure that we provide these opportunities for people to go into other places that, you know, where they can have their shine. That's what we got to do, you know, because it's always gonna be something that people are gonna use, because that's where we are. That somebody's gonna use to try to throw shade on you, you know, to throw a monkey wrench into what you got going on, right? To stop your shine, right? I mean, so you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware of that, right? And us as a culture, as a people, we have to be aware of that too. And we can't allow that. We can't allow us to tear ourselves apart. You know what I'm saying? Like that's again, that shouldn't be on the table. That shouldn't be an option. We're not gonna tear ourselves apart. Now we might elevate each other. We might, you know, I might shoot you some information, shoot you some knowledge, you know. But I'm not gonna tear you down. That's not my goal. That's not my MO. That's not how I operate. So that's what we need to be doing. As people, we need to be thinking like that. We need to be thinking, how can I provide things to the youth to put them in a better position later in life? That's what we need to be thinking about, right? And it all starts with looking back in history and looking and being proud to know that we have contributed so much to everything, to the entire world. That's what Black History 365 is all about. Ain't enough days in February to talk about our contribution. It's not. And it ain't because it's only 28 days in the month either. It's just because you can't do it. You can't do it in a year. And so, but since that's what we're working with, we just gonna go with the year, right? So we're gonna say 365. All right. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. Please, definitely go get that book. Check that book out. It's called More Dirty Little Secrets About Black History, Its Heroes, and Other Troublemakers. Now as we know, you know, John Lewis, he was famous for saying, you know, make good trouble, right? So other troublemakers, the brothers is telling you, like, you know, some of these people were considered troublemakers because they shook things up. They didn't just go with the status quo, with how things work. These people in this photograph behind me, they didn't just go with the status quo. They didn't just go with what the established way of thought was. And this was back in 1900s up to the 1920s, right? Where they built this over the span of 20 years. So think about what we can do in the next 20 years, because we got way more resources than they had. So what can we build? Something to think about. And on that note, I'm going to close out the Intelligent Gentleman podcast, and I'm going to thank everybody for watching, listening. Thank you so much for supporting. Please go to my Anchor. I'll put the link in the chat, and you can support on there, or you can leave a message, a voice message, and I'm gonna start putting those up. I'm gonna start playing them on the show, so that, you know, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to share, please share, and we definitely gonna make sure we get it out there for you. But please keep it, you know, keep it family friendly. I'm trying to keep this family friendly as much as possible, because I wanted to reach the widest audience that it can reach. I wanted to reach as many people as it can reach. That's the goal. All right. So with that being said, thank you again. Peace, love, light, and y'all have a great one. Okay. Y'all take care of yourself and be safe.